Also announce one more time that this is an event which is live on television, and so we would have very minimal movement. As a matter of fact, it is very important that we do not have any movement except that which is very essential for this event. Please. Thank you. The chairman on this occasion, a very distinguished academic, very distinguished professor, former vice chancellor, deputy vice chancellor rather, of the University of Uyo, himself a professor of soil science, Professor Trenchard Ibia. We welcome our very special guest, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 governorship elections in Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umo Eno. We welcome his running mate, the deputy governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, senator representing Eket Senatorial District in the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Dr. Akon Eyarayi. We welcome you, sir. We welcome the international president of the Connect Initiative, the organization that has deemed it fit to put this particular interaction together. We welcome the officials of government, some of them very few, because this is not an event which is essentially a government event, but there are some who have come here, members of the National Assembly, a few of them, members of the State House of Assembly, members of the Akwa Ibom State Executive Council. We've seen a few of them who have come. We welcome you to this event very specially. We welcome also a few members of the campaign organization that have come here. I've seen the Secretary General of Campaigns. I'm sure the DJ of campaigns will join us in not too long a time, the governorship campaigns in Akwa Ibom State for the People's Democratic Party. We welcome very especially all of our very esteemed guests, the people for which this event is organized. The chairman of this occasion, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Charles de Gaulle it was, that French gentleman who played a very critical role in the history of the Republic of France, that said that politics is too serious a game to be left to the hands of politicians alone. Since the year 2022, and for some people even much earlier, the tempo of political activities had stepped up across this state and this country, and for reasons which are very obvious. The elections will be coming up in 2023 this year, with the first set of elections coming up next month for the Presidential and National Assembly tickets. And then in the month of March, the governorship elections will be taking place in a good number of states in this country, including Akwa Ibom State. In all of that, candidates of different political parties, aspirants for different offices, have been meeting, engaging, consulting, and talking to people, sharing their plans, sharing their policies, sharing their hopes and aspirations, and getting people to support them and support their particular ambition. In Akwa Ibom State, the Connect Initiative have thought it wise to provide an opportunity for the gentlemen and ladies who belong to the professional bodies and the interest groups to have an interaction with the governorship candidates of the People's Democratic Party. And so those who are our very special guests this evening, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, are the members of the Nigerian Bar Association who are represented here, the Nigerian Medical Association, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, the Trade Union Congress, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, the National Association of Small Naked Chambers of Commerce, Industries, Mines, and Agriculture, the Igbo, the Hausa, and the Yoruba communities, and of course the non-indigenous communities resident in Akwa Ibom State, the socio-cultural organizations dominating here, Bugum Parawai Bibio, Atianang, Oron Union, Afiri Wadeket, retired very senior military officers, a good number of them generals of the Nigerian Armed Forces who have actually left the service and are back home to contribute their quota, the members of the Akwa Ibom Elders Consultative Assembly, the Christian Association of Nigeria, the National Association of Akwa Ibom State Students, the All Nigeria Conference of Principals of Secondary Schools, the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, the Association of Retired Permanent Secretaries, the Nigeria Institute of Surveyors, the Computer Society of Nigeria, the Like Mind Young Professionals Group, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Uyo and District Society, the Nigeria Institute of Architects, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, the Nigeria Institute of Town Planning, the Nigeria Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, and members of the Akwa Ibom State business community. These are the select group of professionals and interest groups who have been invited to listen to interact with, to make contributions, to seek clarifications, to ask questions, and basically engage with the gentleman who considers them important enough to invite them for this interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, if we were to list the people that are here by their offices one after the other, time and the lack of it will not be very friendly for us. But to show that we at Connect Initiative welcome everyone here, let me please request every single person that is here, please put your hands together for yourselves, wherever it is that you've come from. Thank you very, very much. It is therefore on that note that I'm going to invite very specially to this microphone the gentleman who is chairman on this occasion, Professor of Soil Science, former Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Uyo, Professor Trenchard O. Ibia, to kindly come up here and set the ball rolling, give us a welcome remarks as chairman on this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together for the distinguished professor? Thank you very much. I think we can do better with the applause. Can we please put our hands together for him?
The incoming governor of Akwa Ibom State and his deputy, the prelate emeritus of the Methodist Church, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, political, social, and economic. I am standing to represent Professor Akpan Hoganepo in this occasion. He called me this morning and told me to stand for him. He did not tell me what to say. I will manage to say something. Let me start by thanking God for today. Let me thank the Connect Initiative for this initiative that is very unique in the history of our state and in the history of political engagements since 1999. I consider it very unique. For this reason, let me thank the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party for accepting to call all of us to sit down with him and parley with him on his vision and mission in the cause of aspiring to lead the state as a chief servant. I have been privileged to see the blueprint document. It has a vision and mission. It has 8 goals. It has aspirations. It is the aspiration that have brought the catchword arise. And of course, the entire thinking is broken into 17 focal sectors. 17 focal sectors may not cover all the interest groups professionally. Professional bodies have been called here. Interest groups, social and economic, have been called here. I am aware that there are about 12,000 careers in the world. And if you look at regrouping, the 17 focal sectors takes care of everything that Pastor Mono wants to do in his own thinking. And therefore, you have been invited as professionals, as interest groups, socio-cultural, religious, and so on and so forth. I will only request that you put yourself into a set what he wants to do and ask questions. So I request that you open your mind and open your intellect and be ready to interact with him and bring out those things that you think are challenging and those things that you think can sharpen and sharpen his capacity to be a good governor that will raise the bar from the level we are to a higher level. Please, you are welcome. God bless all of you as you listen. In Jesus' name.
Thank you very much, Professor of Soil Science and of Agriculture, Akwa Ibom State, former Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Uyo, Chairman on this occasion, sitting in literally for the substantive Chairman, Professor Akpan Hogan Ekpo. Can we please put our hands together one more time for Professor Trenchard Ibia? Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Chairman on this occasion, we thank everyone for coming. And we are aware that this event is live on television, the live signals being carried by Channels Television. And of course, it is also on social media, being live streamed on Umo Eno Live and several other channels across the World Wide Web. There are also 10 radio stations that are carrying this event live. And of course, there are a good number of people who are listening in and watching. We welcome them. We thank them for joining us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are here for some very serious business. And so after that brief introductory and welcome remark, we're going to go straight into the very essence of this event to make the most of the time that we have available. It is therefore on that note that I want to respectfully invite a very special guest at this event, the governorship candidate, Pastor Umo Eno, to please rise, sir. Thank you. Umo Eno was born on the 24th day of April, 1964. He's a native of Ikarik Banodo in Surubium, local government area of Akwa Ibom State. He attended the local government authority primary school in Lagos, St. Francis Secondary School in Taku in Eket, and later Victory High School in Ikeja, where he obtained his West African School certificate. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science from the University of Uyo, a Master of Science degree in Public Administration from the same university, and is currently working on his thesis for the award of a PhD in Political Administration from the same university. As one who is keen on broadening his horizon in management and business, he has attended several career development courses, conferences, and seminars in different parts of the world. In the course of his life, he has held several positions in the private sector, including in Union Bank PLC and Bertola Machine Tools Limited, working on the business planning and financial advisory department. He later joined Norman Investment Limited, rising from investment and finance manager to general manager and group general manager of the holding group Norman Holdings Limited in Lagos. While there, he developed a financial roadmap which increased the company's annual growth rate from 5% to 15%. In the year 1997, he returned to his state of Akwa Ibom and set up Royalty Hotels and Recreations Limited, growing the business from a 5-room hotel to a conglomerate of hospitality and allied services, which is currently one of the leading hospitality brands, not just in Akwa Ibom State, but in this country. In many instances, the Realty Group has provided employment for upwards of 2,500 persons, 80% of whom are in the tourism's board. He held that position till the end of that administration in 2007, and he discharged himself creditably in that role, revolutionizing, as it were, the hotels and tourism sector in Akwa Ibom State. He returned to his private endeavor, but in the year September 2019, duty called one more time, and His Excellency Mr. Dom Emmanuel appointed him Executive Director in charge of agri-investments in the Akwa Ibom State Investment Corporation, AKICOR. In that role, he brought his entrepreneurial men to bear, and he successfully led to the team that worked on the revamping of Aqua Palm Limited, the establishment of Ibom Fadama Microfinance Bank Limited, and the construction of the Dakada Warehouse, an off-taking facility and trade, an empowerment program conceived by His Excellency the Governor to encourage youth to take up agribusiness as a way of life. Of course, there were quite a number of other achievements he recorded, as Executive Director, Agribusiness in Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation. In the year 2021, precisely in January, he was appointed Commissioner for Lands and Water Resources in Akwa Ibom State. The ministry witnessed a transformation which culminated in remarkable achievements such as the provision of sites and services at the novel Dakada Luxury Estate and the introduction of the revolutionary Akwa Ibom Geographic Information Systems, Akwa GIS. He ensured the adherence to best practices and managed excellent payment of compensation and site plan preparation, amongst so very many other activities in that ministry. He, of course, worked towards developing a template that will ensure the prompt signing and release of certificates of occupancy to those who merited it. In the water service not too long after, and offered himself to serve the people of Akwa Ibom State in a higher capacity as governor of Akwa Ibom State under the platform of the People's Democratic Party. He is an ordained apostle in the body of Christ, the under-shepherd of the All Nations Christian Ministry International, ECET, a ministry called to build a community of Christian believers that transcend race, tribe, color, tradition, and denominations into a kingdom-focused church. He is the author of several books in the course of his career as an entrepreneur and as a pastor, and he has served as a mentor, an in-demand public speaker, and a recipient of so very many several awards within and outside this state and this country. That gentleman has been married to his wife, who is seated to his left, for 33 years, and that marriage is blessed with 6 children and several grandchildren. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, some of the awards that he has received include that which was given for being the highest employer of labor and human development in Akwa Ibom State in the private sector, and several other recognitions from Rotary International, from international agencies in the state and even outside the shores of the state. He's an alumnus of the Pan-African University Lagos Business School, a fellow of the Nigerian Catering Institute, a Paul Harris Fellow of the Rotary International, Rotary Club of Eket District 9140, member of the Technical Committee on Agriculture and Food Sufficiency in the state as the one was, and member board of directors of Greenwell Technologies Limited. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that is just an abridged profile of a gentleman whose full profile I am sure is already available in public view. But for purposes of time, we would, of course, refer all of us to the information which will be passed on in the several publications in the course of this event. But to make his presentation for us this evening, to engage with this group of professionals and interest groups, to share his thoughts and ideas, to speak to them, listen to them, and connect with the people as we intend to do with this event. Please permit me to invite to this podium the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the elections in 2023. Please make welcome Pastor Umo Eno as he comes up here to make his presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Thank you for that introduction. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome everybody on behalf of my wife and my family that are here. I'd like to welcome each and every one of us here, the chairman of the occasion, and I'd like to welcome very specially Prelate Emeritus of the Methodist Church, Prelate Sundembang, CON. Thank you so much, sir, for finding time to come and share these moments with us. I'd like to welcome each and every one of us that have made it here to this event, and a special thank you to Connect Initiative for inviting me to make my presentation on particularly the blueprint that we have for Akwa Ibom State. I'd like to welcome leaders of all the associations that have been mentioned by Ralph. This is actually going to be an interactive session where we hope to connect with you and to work and to talk, listen to you, and understand the way we together can move our state forward, Akwa Ibom State. And that's why we're here this evening. Akwa Ibom actually is an extremely resource-rich state, and an emerging economy in southern Nigeria. We know that our state is endowed with human and material resources and is one of the safest places to live and work in this country. Our rich natural resources in agriculture, mineral resources, arable land mass, and as well as robust mangrove and swamp forest resources and a vast array of diverse water bodies, aquatic resource provides us the opportunity to ensure that our state becomes one of the leading states in this country. I'd like to thank previous administration from 1999 till date for the work we've done. Actually, Akwa Ibom State, ladies and gentlemen, have been one of the best governed states in this country. We've been blessed by leaders that have built on succession from the time of architect Obong Victor Attah to Chief Godswill Akpabio, and now Deacon Udom Gabriel Emmanuel. Each of these leaders had a focus on the things they would do for the state, and they concentrated on that. And each of them building on what the others have done and expanding on it. The Udom Gabriel Emmanuel administration had completely moved our state from it to becoming an industrialized state. It came with the mantra of industrialization. And together we have seen, as a matter of fact, that he has done well. The Udom Gabriel Emmanuel's administration has opened the gateway of our economy in Akwa Ibom State: land, water, and land, air, and sea. And in terms of land, we can see the roads and all of the construction. Akwa Ibom literally is becoming a major construction site as we open the economy of the state by building good roads and economic roads for that matter. Only recently, the governor, His Excellency Deacon Udom Gabriel Emmanuel, commissioned the fourth longest bridge in this country that will attract economic boom into our riverine areas. And so we know that he has also done a great deal of work with Ibom Air that has become the pride of Nigeria. And all of us sitting in this room from Akwa Ibom must raise our heads very high every time and you see fleets of Ibom Air lined up, and Ibom Air is being announced to fly to destinations in this country. I know I'm always very proud myself. And in the area of sea, you've seen the Ibom Deep Sea Port. Work is at advanced stage, and this is one of the areas we believe that we need to concentrate on and get it to start by the grace of God and with your collective agreement through your vote as we go to the poll March 11th. Having done all of this, we've seen his work in the health sector, education sector. All of those sectors have been opened up. We now have the syringe factory. We now have all other factories, the flour mill that is here. We have also, as Commissioner for Lands, we gave land to a few companies. Now we have the petrochemical plant built coming up in Eastern Obolo. And of course, there's something coming up in Esreket as well. This gentleman has used his wealth of experience as a banker, a senior one at that, and has brought investors to Akwa Ibom State. Now, we have challenges that we must face to be able to move our state to the next level. And that's what makes some of us offer ourselves, by the grace of the Almighty God, to run as governor of Akwa Ibom State, to bring together our people, to continue and to sustain the work that this present administration have done, and build on it, and ensure that our people together will arrive and derive the benefits of democracy. And that's why our theme basically is connecting the dots, have an understanding of what we're doing and what we're planning to do, and want to connect that with everyone in this room who are, of course, opinion molders in your various organizations and associations, and people who we believe we can sit together to forge ahead in the things we want to do. We believe that we have a blueprint of consolidation and expansion which seeks to consolidate on the economic gains of previous administration. That's what we want to do. And we envision, by the grace of the Almighty God, to build a vibrant, inclusive, diversified, and highly industrialized economy using the available resource that Akwa Ibom has, our human and material resource. That's what we want to do. There are lifelong opportunities I see every day in Akwa Ibom State. I see those opportunities and we call them low-hanging fruits. And so we began by identifying our goals in running this race and what do we really want to achieve. The goals are basically the common issues that we have in the whole of the world, not just peculiar to Nigeria, but at least in emerging economy all over the world. And even now with the developed economy, we have issues to deal with: poverty reduction, we have job creation. Poverty reduction basically is, for us, a key index because we must be able, if you get to our rural areas, you'll see that there's real hunger. You'll know that people are poor. And so we intend to take some steps that will help that you find between the rural areas and what you find in the cities. So we're going to put some programs in place that I hope to share with you as we go on this presentation. And when you talk of poverty reduction, of course, we are going to talk about job creation. We know that by statistics, the rate of unemployment in this country is growing, and also around us in our state. So we need to do so much to ensure that our youths have work to do. Not just that they are not employed. Sometimes they may be underemployed because the skills for the right kind of jobs are not available. So in tackling jobs creation, we want to develop the right skills. We want to ensure that they have the skill set that will make them do the jobs as they are available and as these industries come up. We intend to deal with price stability, see how we can bring some stability in the prices of at least our food item, and we believe we can do that. All of us know the rate of instability with our prices, and of course create a sustainable economic growth. Goal number 5 is to improve our standard of living. Our standard of living, particularly again in the rural area, because standard of living, environmental sustainability. The global warming is really taking its toll in the world today, and we need to put our hearts everywhere you go. As we campaign, I've had the privilege to go through local government, and most of the challenges facing us is erosion. Goals are very ambitious, and we know that, but these are all the same goals every time, and we intend to ensure that as far as our state is concerned, we leave these goals there and then begin to see how we can tackle them by strengthening our institutions and ensuring that we can give you real-time data that will help us as we tackle these issues that we have turned to goals. And we intend to do that, of course, using our flagship economic and development agenda, which we have tagged as Arise. We intend to use our flagship economic agenda, which is what we call the now popular Arise agenda. Of course, the Arise agenda becomes our aspirations that will help us achieve the goals that we have set out for ourselves. And the Arise agenda the acronyms basically for the first things that we needed to do and want it to resonate around us so that each and every one of us will understand it and will pursue it. And everybody that will be working with us will always look at those programs and fit in. And the first thing, of course, is agricultural revolution. Agricultural revolution, we've come to a stage that if we truly want to develop as a people, we need to go back to agriculture. At least we should be able to feed ourselves. We should be able to, and that's where price stability and all of that comes in. We should be able to do agribusiness, practice agriculture on a sustainable basis, on a commercial basis, and we put in some things as we get to the strategy of how we'll revolutionize agriculture. We build on tourism. Tourism, of course, we know that Akwa Ibom State has about 21 tourist sites that we really have explored, and we intend to ensure that we take tourism seriously. We have 129 kilometers of coastline that we have not done too much with. So we intend to do so much in the area of agriculture and in the area of environmental management. The R is actually for rural development. And one of the things we would like to be known for, seriously, will be rural development. We believe that there's so much we can do in our rural communities. We believe that our men and women that live in our rural community deserves a good standard of living like we enunciated as part of our goals. And we intend to do that by giving them the basic necessity of life. Good road, water, light. Give them all of that, security. And then schools. We need to do a few things with our schools. So make sure that our rural areas are properly developed. We intend to, the letter I is for infrastructural maintenance and advancement. We will continue to build on the infrastructure in our state and maintain the ones that we have. We'll come up with a few agencies that will help us and strengthen the existing ones to maintain our infrastructure. The S is for security management, quality education, and health sector management. The security of our state and even our nation, we know from time to time is being consistently threatened. But thank God to the Dikinudom Gabriel Emmanuel's administration that has given us peace and a new lease of life in the last 7.5 years. All of us seated in this room, if you've lived in Akwa Ibom long enough, will know the difference between the 7.5 years of Udom Emmanuel and the previous years, where politically motivated killing was the order of the day, where people were murdered in cold blood, even in churches, in their homes, and people could not sleep with their two eyes closed. A lot of you had left town, but today we are all back into town because there is peace in Akwa Ibom. A lot of conferences come here, and the truth is we intend to build on that security architecture and ensure we work with security agencies around the state. The service commanders that have always worked together, we continue to ensure that we bring peace and security to our state. Deal with the issues. Right now we're beginning to see a new pattern with the pirates, the sea pirates. And of course, government is also working to deal with that. Will continue. I have a firm belief that our educational system needs to be tinkered a little bit, at least at the ordinary level, at KEDA, our secondary schools. We need to begin to go back to let our children have a skill set, and then vocational schools, model technical schools. We need to ensure that our children can have a platform, a digital platform to operate. I like to see our schools teach our children e-learning and have a hub and all of those. So we intend to sit down with the Ministry of Education and see how we can put all of those things back again. Of course, our health sector. The secondary health care in Akwa Ibom is very good, and we all agree. This government has put in a lot in terms of secondary health care. But we need to connect the people in the rural areas. So I'm going to concentrate, by the grace of God, what our administration will do is to concentrate on primary health care. in our villages, in our wards, where at least every ward or some ward closer to each other will have a functional cottage hospital so that the people living in the rural area can have access to good medical services. A whole lot of them will not go to town for reasons they just don't want to go. And we need to ensure that we take our health sector at the primary health care level seriously. I like to see that we work with the pharmacies to ensure that we can dispense our medication digitally. We can have a pharmaceutical warehouse electronically, and then whoever is the head will know what medication to move to where, and we can track it. These things are not rocket science. I believe it can be done. We've looked at it. Then the E is for economic, industrial, and social advancement. We believe that I'm a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur. Post-COVID, a lot of companies have not been able to get themselves back together. They've not been able to just get back to work and businesses. We believe that we need to support these businesses to grow. Again, if we think of job creation, the SMEs are best bet. So we intend to work with the SMEs and then the small, medium enterprises, support their businesses and ensure that they begin to grow again. They can take off 2, 3, 4 persons off the street and we can support them. And that is the vehicle we intend to use to ensure that we bring our people and achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves. There are policy directions that we intend to go, and this has to do with all of the aspiration. And because of time and the lack of it, we want to say that for our agricultural revolution, and the policy direction will be to reposition agriculture as the mainstay of the state's economy, develop value chains, as well as increase export of agricultural products from the state. We intend to develop value chains. We intend to create agricultural hubs in our state. If, for example, let's take cassava. Cassava is our main, it gives us gari, fufu, and then we can get starch. It's our main source of living. That's how we feed. And so what do we want to do as a state? We intend, by the grace of God, to create hubs for each product we want to grow. Say cassava. You get to a community, and rather than acquire the land, you lease the land from that community. That way the community becomes, they participate in the project. And you raise out growers from that community because you want them to have money. And then you build a full value chain business. You put a gari processing mill that will give you starch, that will give you fufu, that will give you gari. We put all that in that community, in a commercial basis. You put hostels where people can see this as work and they can grow, they can take a career out of agriculture. And then you can produce your gari in large quantity. The people that plant the cassava, of course, the business will take from them. So they have money in their pocket. And they are not just going to grow for their, consumption. It becomes one of the ways. You can do that for maize. You can do that for every other product. So at the end of the day, you will be able to produce food for yourself. Then I already talked about tourism. We intend to develop policies that will make Akwa Ibom a tourist destination. We will intend to also ensure that all of our tourist sites are very well developed without tampering with the originality. Then we have Ibom Air. With Ibom Air, we can partner with them, and then guests can come into Akwa Ibom and structure a flight. People can come into Akwa Ibom. We can have tourist companies that will be able to help our people visit location and then see and savor the tourist occasions that we have. We have hotels, and Akwa Ibom meals are one of the best meals in this country. So if we create that enabling environment, through access to Ibom Air, we are going to bring tourists to our state. And of course, the celebrated Christmas village. What we intend to do with the Christmas village is we have 31 days to celebrate Christmas in the Christmas village. We can enhance what they're doing right now and have each local government take a day in the Christmas village and display their own issues. That's where we're still at I'm talking on policy directions, please. I think you're really getting too fast to get me to the focus sectors. I'm still on the policy. In 10 minutes, I'll be wrapping up so that we can have time to concentrate. But I'd like to also say that in terms of rural development, where I like to spend a little time, we can create wealth for our people in our rural areas. Of course, the agriculture will be happening in rural areas, and then we can also ensure that we have them participate in what we are doing, give them model market. And particularly one area in rural development we are yet to tap is tapping the resources in the riverine community. Akwa Ibom has the best seafood, and yet our seafood is not, we're not taking enough, we're not investing enough. So what do we want to do? We want to provide for our people, form them into a cooperative, give them boats, fishing boats, see if we can raise trawlers for them, one or two, and then we can empower them. My idea of empowerment is not to buy someone a car. My idea of empowerment is to enable someone have a living. And that's what we think we can do with our rural communities. And then with the riverine areas, provide them with fishing boats, form them into a cooperative, and ensure that when we give them facilities, canning facilities, cold room facilities around the coastal area, and ensure that they are able to do their businesses and then provide the required security. That's what we intend to do with the rural areas. Give them good Medicare. And of course, then you go on to empower our youth, you go on to encourage our women, and of course, you go on to make sure that they are doing something worth the while. You encourage and promote creativity among our youths. And then you will focus on the creative industry. One of the areas youths are very much talented now is the creative industry. And we intend to ensure that we encourage them. The state is already building a school for the creative artists, and we'll continue to ensure that we work with them and expand that area. In the area of sports, we'll build a sports academy in Akwa Ibom so that our youth and our young people can grow beyond leaps and bounds in the area of sports and then the arts sector. We'll build so many things that will ensure that our youths participate. Recreational outlets, recreational facilities, we intend to work on some of those. Then infrastructure, maintenance will be part of the things. We've talked about security, and I'm trying to rush now because of time. But one of the areas we want to do in diversifying our economy and creating extra income is to create opportunities for our small, medium enterprises to grow. And that is one area we intend to ensure that businesses are given the right support. We intend to work with organizations to partner with them as state government so that our people can have access to finances, probably at single-digit rates. Because we can, if the state government works with partners, we can get to that, and then our people can have money to run. Another area we want to look at in economic development is the ICT sector. We need to open up our ICT sector. Young people are making money all around the world. Some work from home and earn money. We need to open up our ICT sector, create a very important hub for our people so that they can, and then we promise we'll go back to look at the science park and make sure that that project is completed so as to give our youth the things to do. In looking at the focal sectors as we begin to wrap up, those focal sectors are 17 of them, and you can see the areas we are going to work, but for very obvious reasons, those are the focal sectors. But we're going to want to be big on agriculture. We want to be big on human capital development and sustainability. We want to be big on tourism and, of course, health. Because health is wealth. We have a full plan for our health sector. And it is something that time will fail me to review all of this plan with you. We intend also to take our staff workers' welfare and put it on the front burner. Everywhere I go and as I talk to groups and consult with them, there's a growing concern about our workers' welfare. And a lot of them will tell you about their gratuity. They will tell me how much is being owed already as at when due. But one of the things, how do we want to do that? How do we want to clear the backlog? What we intend to do is through strengthening our budgeting system to ensure that we allocate certain amount in our budget and get the approval of the State House of Assembly to ensure that every month that amount is paid. No matter how much you may owe, once we can schedule properly and appropriate the right amount through the inflows that we get, we'll be able to clear those gratuity. And from the first month I get into office, we'll begin to take care of gratuity of staff. We will, and so that it will keep reducing. Because if you keep paying, yes, I'm aware that, okay, how do you take care of those that will be retiring? Is it, like I've said to you, everything must have a plan. If, for example, please, just out of the head figures, if we want to set aside, maybe pay to 500 million out of the head, please, maybe 1 billion you pay. You can say, okay, you clear with 1 billion, the new one you make additional provision. So every month, rather than it growing, it will keep reducing because of the provision you have made. Everything is about planning. As a businessman, and the kind of business I do, selling food, you need to know that anybody who runs hotel will be detailed in planning. If you are not a detailed person, you can't survive in the hospitality industry for 6 months. You will pack up. But I've been in this business, we've grown, we've expanded in the last 25 years. So I pay attention to details. And I've worked with organizations, I've worked with IOCs. I've had to, at a time, run 12 platforms in one of the IOCs. And all those platforms were offshores. You had to give them breakfast, lunch, dinner, and midnight meal. At a certain time, it will take planning, it will take your logistics, you need to understand it. And so if you could do that, and we ran for 12 years, and not just one IOC, 2, 3 sometimes. So you need to understand that everything resonates around your planning, your ability to get things done. We want to ensure that we bring in a health insurance scheme in Akwa Ibom. And I understand that the Governor Dom Emmanuel, has signed in the health insurance bill that was passed to him. And I know that we will be the one to implement that health insurance bill. We will be able to ensure that we can run this bill. Our people can benefit from health insurance. Our elders from the age of 65 will get very basic health care for free. Because I believe that if you've served this state and you reach the age of 65, there are some benefits that you should get. Basic health care should be one of them. And we are going to ensure that we put that in place through the health insurance. Where they cannot pay, government can undertake to pay for them so that they can have the benefit of that insurance. That's the benefit of their service to Akwa Ibom State. I believe also that we can help our young people by encouraging them. As someone who had worked with and it was a privilege that His Excellency gave me appointment as Executive Director, Agric Service, Agric Investment. One of the things we did was to do an enumeration of all Akwa Ibom State farmers. Today, online, we can tell you how many farmers we have, what they are growing. It was a result of that work, partnering with the World Bank, that we had to find a way to finance them so they can have access to funding. And that was why Ibom Fadama Microfinance Bank was created. By the grace of God, His Excellency gave me the privilege to be the first chairman who had to register that company, who had to set up Ibom Microfinance Bank, so that our farmers can have access to facilities and we can ensure that we grow food. Ladies and gentlemen, the issues are not rocket science. I call them low-hanging fruits. We can get our people back to work. We can provide funding. We can feed at least ourselves. We can begin to think of export. Ibom Air, and if you look at the airport, we have Ibom Air, we have the MRO, the maintenance, repair, and overhaul hangar. Akwa Ibom is building one of the best terminal building, smartest terminal building in this country. What do we want to do? Ibom Air has ordered 10 brand new Airbuses and to start regional flight. What does that mean to me? How do I connect to that? We intend to build a cargo terminal because we know that once we start flight along the West Coast, businesses will increase. Cargo will need to come in. So we need to put a cargo terminal. Ours is to consistently build on what this government have done and then continue to improve on it and expand the frontiers in Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom can be and will be, by the grace of God, an entrepreneurial state. It will build a vibrant economy. And again, the Ibom Deep Sea Port, whatever the issues are, by the grace of God, with your support, we will get that seaport to work. We'll sit down with the people and we'll work with them. Our approach as a roundup in rural development is simple. We're not just going to throw projects at communities. We are going to create a leadership team in each local government, and we'll ensure that we work with them to bring projects that they can own and work with. These are the areas we'll begin to look at, and that I don't want to go into strategies tonight, but I'm just presenting to you a simple blueprint that we can connect the dots and further the peace and the prosperity that is going on in Akwa Ibom State right now. We can do that. It is possible. It is not rocket science. And so I present myself to you as the right person to be able to get this going. I have the will, I have the ability, I have the competence, I have the capacity, and above all, I have the compassion to ensure that we get this done. I grew from the ground zero, and God has brought me to this point. I understand the language of the ordinary citizen, and I can relate with them as I go around the local government. And tonight, with your sector, with your association, with your group, we can look at issues, how to build around this. None of this is cast in concrete. It will take Akwa Ibom, and that is why I want to thank the Connect Initiative Group for inviting me to make this presentation and for giving me this privilege. I'd like to call on all Akwa Ibomites to please, let's further this discussion and let's run away from things that debase us. Akwa Ibom, we should rise above biases. We should look at the issues ahead of us, fighting each other, running people down, blackmailing people, telling lies will not build an Akwa Ibom that we deserve. So I ask that we stand and vote for the party that will ensure that we take our state to another level. That is the PDP. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The governorship candidates of the People's Democratic Party. The way the gentleman speaks If you had given him 2-3 hours, I'm sure he would not finish speaking. But thankfully, the Arise agenda, which he has spoken eloquently about, there are copies of the document, the hard copies of the document, which will be given to all of the people here in the course of this event. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take some questions, which is why we've asked him to take a seat. And if we have limited time, we're on live television. If we were to answer one question after another, we would not have enough time because it may take quite some while. So maybe we'll take the questions in batches, 3 or 4, maybe 5. He gives an answer to those ones, and then we continue like that. Please, this interaction was of professional bodies, and every single person here represents one of the professional bodies, represents the groups, represents the different organizations that were invited for this event. So please, when you are given an opportunity to ask a question, ensure that your question is targeted at what will build our state and input into the plans that he is making. A question for clarification. Just introduce yourself and limit yourself to a maximum of 2 questions, please. Limit yourself to a maximum of 2 so that we can have other people. So if you raise your hands for those who have questions to ask, if you show by raising your hand now, there's somebody there whom I will direct to give a microphone to you. I've seen a hand up here, I've seen a second hand here, I've seen a hand here, I've seen one more here. Let us start from those in front. There's a gentleman here. Please, sir, just introduce yourself and please make your contribution. Thank you very much. I can see that he's seated on the table of the Nigerian Bar Association. Please hand him the microphone. Give him the microphone.
I have to use this opportunity to congratulate.
Please, sir, may you kindly introduce yourself, please.
My name is Umo Emmanuel Achibong Esquire. I'm a barrister by profession.
Thank you, sir.
For now.
Thank you.
And I'm here on 2 capacities, but I will speak on the general capacity.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Now, the governorship candidates, sir, you've spoken about gratuities, pensions, which you will ensure that it is paid. At the commencement of your administration, will you for any reason feel that you made a backlog and therefore that backlog has to be there at the end of your administration? Right, you made a backlog and it is normal to meet a backlog at the beginning of your administration. Will you contemplate not to have a backlog? That's number 1.
Thank you very much, sir.
Number 2.
Yes, sir.
I was privileged, and I'm still privileged, to be the legal advisor for Akwa Ibom Elderly Citizens Assembly. And the president of that organization wrote a book. What about the aged? What about the aged is the topic of that book. And I was privileged to write the foreword. And I said, it's a lone voice crying in the wilderness, because many professors, academicians have not ventured into that. I've heard what you have talked about, insurance. The elderly, do you contemplate having a representation in your government for the elderly? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Points taken. 2 very quick questions, sir, which I'm sure he has noted. When he returns here, he will answer. I have not seen the hands anymore, so please, those who had actually raised their hands, yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Engineer Ezekiel, the Vice Chairman, Nigerian Society of Engineers.
Thank you, sir.
Akwa Ibom State is blessed with mineral resources, one of which is the palm fruit. From my childhood...
Please, I may kindly request, go straight to the point if you don't mind, please. Yeah, just ask the question, please.
From my childhood, I've watched these palm fruits in large quantities moved out of the states in trucks, trailers, and so on. I'd like to ask our incoming governor, what modalities will he put in place to ensure that these products will not just leave the states in raw form, but in finished product like vegetable oil? That's number 1. Number 2, I like the fact that our candidate recognized the infrastructural development, the effort of previous administration in infrastructural development. Then I want to ask, with all these infrastructural development and projects, what are the modalities he will put in place to ensure sustenance and maintenance
of this
product?
much.
Thank you.
I've heard from two men. If I find a lady raise her hand, I'll give priority to the female. No, we've already had a lawyer. There's another lady down there, please. So, yes, we've taken one from the NBA table. So let's go somewhere else, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Happiness Uduk. I'm of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, University of Uyo branch.
Welcome, ma.
I have two questions for you, sir. Question number one is this. Over time, earlier on, as staff of the universities, we did enjoy some tax rebate, and that was during the Akabio era. But after then, sir, our argument was that we work in Akwa Ibom State. We teach children from Akwa Ibom State. And since we're here, that we're equally supposed to enjoy from the rebate that those in the ministries enjoyed. And we did get that. So, sir, how are you going to help us in this regard again? Because the kind of tax regime we're having is plunging us into poverty. And your goal number one is actually to fight against poverty.
Dr.
That's
Uduk,
poverty
please.
reduction.
Dr. Uduk, if you don't
Question
mind,
two,
I'm
sir.
not stopping you. I'm not stopping you. I just wanted to properly contextualize. When you say we have enjoyed, who are the we, please?
I said I'm of the University of Uyo,
So you're referring
both
to
academic and non.
staff of the University of Uyo.
Not just academic staff. That's why I said we.
Okay.
Every staff of the University of Uyo did enjoy that then.
That's okay.
And then we've been under a weight of a tax regime that's actually been plunging us into poverty.
Thank you.
And like I said, his goal one says it is for poverty eradication.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Question two, sir. There have been the report from the visitation panel that visited the Akwa Ibom State University. How are you going to implement the recommendations of the visitation panel to ACSU? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've had three, and I've seen sociocultural organization. There's a gentleman there who's raised his hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The candidate, my name is Okparawa James, the International President, Akwa Ibom. I think I also have the mandate of all the sociocultural organizations in the state to speak as the leader. Your Excellency, we would like to know, coming on board, how will you sustain the unity project of Akwa Ibom State to the extent that every section, every sector, every ethnic nationality is equitably carried along in your project and developmental programs? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. There are people who are sitting all the way to the back, and maybe there's a gentleman there with a beret somewhere at the back. Yes, kindly hand him. This is just the first session. We'll take another session, but after this, we'll give an opportunity to a special guest to respond to these issues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I remain Comrade Ewa Okpo, popularly known as the street lawyer. Just two very brief questions, Your Excellency, in the making. So you talked about peace and security. Now I want to say here that the present administration has done superlatively well in that aspect. However, there is what, as a practicing lawyer, there's what I've come to see as abuse of security empowerment. Sir, every programs of the state government to empower the security agencies, the security agencies seem to turn around to use those programs to oppress the same people of the state. I'll give you, for example, FAREP. Any little allegations
Barrister,
on people,
please allow me to request that you make this fast.
Yes, I'm doing that, sir. And now, right from the law we passed on anti-cultism, the FAREP, and even the recent Administration of Criminal Justice laws, you find out that security operatives take advantages of these programs of the state to oppress the very same people of the state. Sir, in your administration, what measures are you going to put in place to ensure that your good policies will not turn around to affect the same people you want to help negatively.
Thank you.
Especially in security.
Thank you.
Second question, transportation, sir. Sir, we all know that Akwa Ibom people are suffering when it comes to transportation out and into the state. There is rarely a week that passes by that we don't hear about accidents. And it's as though these transporters do not have regard for lives and properties of their passengers. Those who go long distance journeys, sir, they use poor, bad vehicles to Akwa Ibom State. It has happened to us all the way from Lagos. You discover that the vehicles that are coming to Akwa Ibom are vehicles in bad condition. Again, when it comes to compensation,
please kindly round off, please.
I'm rounding up, sir. They don't seem to have regards for us. You'll be shocked to know that their compensation for death is 50,000 naira. Sir, what are we going to put in place? Bear in mind, however, that the state does not have powers over insurance. What are we going to put in place to ensure that transporters treat the people of Akwa Ibom State with respect?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Can we please put our hands together for all of the people that have asked these questions? We would suspend for now. I said we would take it in batches. If you have more questions, please sit. But in the meantime, please, you can make it faster. There are ushers all over the place. If you can write your question down and give it to one of the ushers, they could pass it to me, and then we'll also pass it on. That could also be a faster way. For now, let me allow the special guest of this event, a governorship candidate of the PDP, to give a response to these questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this interactive session, which is actually the most important, and these feedbacks will help us. So gratuity will be cleared. And I've told you, I tried to explain how we're going to clear it. It's making provision to clear it in the budget. And we just pray that we'll continue to have the funds and the revenue. I cannot categorically say I will leave backlogs or I will not leave backlogs. But what I can say to you is that we will reduce and try to clear us. But I believe that people should have their gratuities. They are elderly people. So it's uppermost my mind. And I'll make sure we do everything we can to clear the backlogs. We will allocate funds to it, and that's just what we'll do. And I'm sure if we do that very well, we'll get to it. Involving the aged in, of course, there's no way you cannot involve the elderly. They play advisory role. I visited retired permanent secretaries the other day. A lot of them, we will need them in advisory capacity because they will tell you, you may want to do something they've done before. And they will be able to tell you, look, we have done this before. Look at the pitfalls. Look at, so you cannot but involve the elderly people in governance. It's going to be an all-inclusive governance. That's just what we're going to do by the grace of God. So the young people, the elderly people, men, women, you know, and now women, for the first time in Akwa Ibom, we're going to have a first female elected deputy governor, and that's to show you that women will have a position in governance. So the palm fruits you talked about, we've done a lot of work with Aqua Palm. That was one of the assignments His Excellency the Kinudom Gabriel Emmanuel gave to me. Aqua Palm was moribund for close to 30 years. And right now, if you go there, you'll find out that we have cleaned up the area, we have farmhouses, we've brought in seedlings, we're about to start transplanting, and there's life there again. And the idea is that we wanted to work with CBN, but if CBN is not forthcoming, you give me the privilege to be the governor of the state, we will bring in a plant, we'll bring in a mill, and then we like to see, because I know there's much more money there, we like to produce, have a PKO plant installed, and then this is one of the areas that can do palm fruit. And I can tell you that would be one of our areas of concentration. Esreke, Tabak, all of the places that we have them. Then infrastructural maintenance is in one of the aspiration I told you about. We will maintain infrastructure and we'll just strengthen the institutions that are maintaining. My sister talked about tax rebate. University of Uyo, the last time I checked, was a federal university. And, but we'll discuss with you the nature of tax rebate. We'll look at it. Let me don't give a fiat. We'll look at what you're talking about. We'll get the details and we'll then be able to know. You talked about implementation of the report of the visitation panel to ASU. I need to see the report first. Then I know how we'll implement. I cannot give a commitment to what I have not seen. Sustaining the unity in Akwa Ibom, of course we will. We will make sure that when you are governor of Akwa Ibom State, and you must live above ethnic and parochial sentiment. You must be able to bring everybody to the table and be very equitable in distribution of projects, positions, appointments. This is just a way to go. And again, don't forget, we're decentralizing as much as possible to the local government. So everyone will have local government to himself. And I did not say, one of the things I wanted to say that I don't know how many of us have houses in our villages right now. Because how many of you have a house in your village? Raise your hand. Because rural development begins with us, going back to our villages, ensuring that we build there, we live with our people. What this government, what we will do, if given the opportunity, will be to connect all the local government through a good network of roads to Uyo, because you can live in your local government and come to work in this town and stem rural-urban migration. You become role models for those young people in your area. That is how rural development starts in your village. Begin to think of one. The security of laws and see, the issue here is, as a lawyer, what you call oppression may not be oppression, but we will look at it. We will make sure that people are not oppressed. We will make sure. And I know that our security agencies are civil. We'll continue to talk with them. We'll continue to engage them. It's a continuous engagement. The number of things that happen sometimes in this state, it makes you feel extremely sad. A father raping a child, and a 70-year-old man raping a 2-year-old girl. Those things they are demonic, to say the least. Transportation. We will improve on our transportation within and outside the state. We will launch a proper mass transit program, and we'll have buses that will ply the road, at least interstate, intercity, and within Uyo, we'll have we have a very nice plan for that. And then I know the VIOs are working. We need to strengthen them to do the right thing. And our Ministry of Transport, we also need to ensure that their monitoring and evaluation team are doing their job properly. Those are the things I believe we can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think we'll allow our special guest to remain where he is so that we can take the questions. We don't want him moving up and down the entire place. So we'll take a few more questions. If I see a lady's hand first, maybe we'll start with the ladies this time. Yes, there's one towards the middle there. Can somebody please hand her a microphone? And please let us stick to the rules. Just go introduce yourself and go straight to the point. Thank you very much. Maximum of 2 questions, please.
Thank you so very much. My name is Mrs. Afi Israeli Banga, the president of Uyo Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture. Sir, you have given us what we want to hear. Yes, Akwa Ibom State is known as civic service state. But there are some of this organized private sector that has deemed fit to struggle to change these narratives. We are here to make people businesses grow. We are here to collaborate with the government. But most of the time, we struggle to even get to the ministry that will best address our issues. So please, what will your administration do for the chambers of commerce, industry, mines, and agriculture?
Thank you very
sir.
much. Thank you, Ma. I guess that question has been well taken. And it's a gentleman all the way at the back. Let us not make them feel like they're not part of the event. Waving his hand, kindly hand that gentleman. Yes, the gentleman with the cap there. Thank you.
Invited for a program of this nature. There is on record that some of us have been in this state for over 35 years.
Please, Professor Yandele, if you do not mind, may I please request that you take it quickly so we can accommodate others, please. Thank you.
Yeah, the question I want to ask is, what will be the program, or what will be the, I don't know, what will the incoming governor do to change the narratives in terms of changing what is on ground? Inclusion. We pay our taxes here. We do business here. But we are always being called upon when it is election time.
Okay, sir.
We want the narrative to change.
Thank you very much, sir. I guess the point has been taken. Please come all the way to the front also, please. There's somebody who is raising not just a hand, but raising the banner of the group that they represent. Please hand the person the microphone. Even as questions are also coming to me, please hand him the microphone, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Hanson Johnson from the tech community in Akwa Ibom State. I want to congratulate Pastor Eno for coming this far and the beautiful presentation he just made. We have seen the 8 goals, 5 aspirations, and because we are from the tech community, dear Pastor Eno, you are very lucky that the tech community has already, with their bare hands, provided a foundation for what we have seen in your presentation to hit the ground running from day one. And at the national level, there is something called Nigeria Startup Act, which was signed into law 19 October 2022. And it has defined what a hub is. And I've seen you want to build a hub. It has defined what an accelerator is. But we need to domesticate that in the states. I wish this current government will domesticate it and leave a legacy so that from day one in your government, in 100 days in office, you will already have what to show as results. In your aspirations, number 3, we have seen infrastructure and ICT development. But what young people are doing is that they depend on this technology to trade e-commerce. But logistics is an issue. So what are your plans towards making e-commerce thrive, solving the logistics problems or challenges we are facing in the state? But again, in all we do in our state, we have witnessed how, what they call weather capital flight, the young people are here working, but when there is a bigger project, local content is always ignored. Please, sir, how are you going to ensure that you won't repeat these things? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think if you'll allow me, sir, I'll take some of the questions that have been sent in here. And thank you to those who have sent in these questions to save us time. Vice Chairman, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria is asking, please, sir, promise us, I'm reading as written here, that you give us an international conference center in this state where professionals can have conferences. So they said you should promise, sir. I didn't say it though, I just read it from here. And then please kindly hold it, please. Charlie Eka, State Chairman, Nigeria Automobile Technicians Association. He says that as technology advances, modern cars can no longer be handled by quacks. What modalities do you have in place for the training of auto technicians to meet up with the latest technology in the field? And from the Association of Retired Permanent Secretaries, there's a retired permanent secretary, Udo Samudo Esquire, who has 2 questions. The first is asking if you have any plans to set up modular refineries in Akwa Ibom so that we can utilize the crude oil available in the state. And the second one says, thank you for your well set out programs, but how will you address ethical values within the society and government functionaries and the public which are lacking now? I want to believe, sir, that you have taken those questions, and maybe we'll allow you, if you're ready, so that we can give answers to them. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. What we plan to do for the Chamber of Commerce is to work with them, understand the area of their needs, and see how we can encourage them. There are commissioners and there are ministries that are handling these things. The issue for me is we want to hit the ground running. We need everyone on board. People that are close to me know that I set goals and I achieve goals. And I do not play with anyone when it gets to the time of work. If, by the grace of God, I become governor, every memo that comes to my table must have three things. Our objective. How does it rhyme with our RISE agenda? How many people will I get out of the street? And what's the overall benefit to the people in that sector? These are just three basic things. If you can't answer the question, my personal assistant will return your memo. Because every memo must address each of the things we are setting out for, because we are going to document them. Now, the non-indigens, sir, I don't know, you gave yourself non-indigens to have an identity. My father was a police officer. I've been all around this country. I spent a greater part of my life in Lagos. I did a little bit in the north. And I can tell you that I've always seen myself as an indigene of the place where I am. Akwa Ibom State is very hospitable. We love strangers more than we love ourselves. And so all you need to do is to understand that when you get to a place, you've lived there for 35 years, you know our culture, you know what it is. Once you understand the culture of the people you have friends around, nobody will give you that tag, non-indigene. So I'd rather you yourself started by introducing yourself as the president of non-indigene. So maybe you start by changing the name, then we'll follow you. And then you talked about appointments. I'd like to tell you that today, in this government, His Excellency the Kinudom Emmanuel has a senior and a special assistant that is handling non-Akwa Ibomites, that is, you know, using your word, non-indigene. There is, so you are incorporated, and then but if you come into the state and then you don't let us know you are there, you don't identify with what we're doing, how will we know? But there's a special assistant right now, one Emmanuel something. It should be. Oh, yes, that's him. He's even sitting close to you. So it's an essay. And it's not an essay on non-indigene, it's an essay on project monitoring. So, you know, capital flights. So I feel the same way you do. I feel that we should use our professionals here, whether they're architects or engineers, and I believe that we must use our people. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I've been through what you're talking about, where people look at your face and believe that because you're local, you cannot handle certain things. I proved that wrong almost 15 years ago when our organization won the first indigenous contract to cater for an IOC on 12 platforms. We've broken the jinx. We can do well. The insects of this world are here. And so we believe that we should use our people. So I'm with you on that. I agree. But again, let me say this. As I speak to you now, I've just set my blueprint. Do you realize that we talked to Israel and they are presenting a blueprint, a workable plan. We talked about, I went to in the local government, saw the arable land there. We talk about integrated farming using the Songhai model. By next week, I'm meeting with the Songhai people from Cotonou coming to talk to us. Now, I ask this question. We're talking all of this. It's just like our budgets. When budgets come out, what I know as a businessman is to look at the budget and say, what part of this can I handle? Please, I like to see professionals that are in this room, look at any of these aspects and begin to see where you participate. Let's begin to discuss, believing and trusting that I win the elections. That way you too will begin to work towards my winning the elections. But when you wait, and then some people have made presentations, they've done things, they've gone far, and then you want me to hit the ground running. Of course, there's no way I'll start talking about all of this hub when I'm sworn in. I'm already working on them. So there's a need for our people to key into the vision that is being said. That's why we have the town hall. It will reduce capital flight. And then the tech community. Like I've said, I know my house in Lagos is by the computer village. So that tells you that I know exactly what you're talking about. I see how young boys make money. I can partner with you and make sure that we get that happening here. Like I keep saying, this is not rocket science. It takes the commitment of our young people coming together and then government giving them the required support. And we like to do that because it's not too good to see our young people running after you and all they are singing, you are a leader, you are a leader. No, it's time to practicalize these things and we can do it. And it's also time to get our young ones to be willing to work. A lot of our young people, I must also say, we blame leadership all the time, but we should also look at followership. A lot of our young people make more money begging and running around politicians, doing the wrong things. And I tell you an example. My consultant is here. We got a young boy, we needed to employ him. He looked good, has the nice credentials, and we said to him, we'll give you a job in our business. He looked at me and said to me, sir, how much are you going to pay me? So I didn't consider that as insulting. I told him, I said, well, we are a small hotel, you have OND, we'll start with 80,000. He looked at me and said, sir, thank you so much. My bill is about 500,000 a month. This is a life story. And I said to him, how do you make 500,000? He said, just give me what you have. I will go to another person. He will give. Then I said, he who goes are borrowing, are begging. So we need, again, that brings me to the issue of ethical values. We need to really, really begin to educate our young people, give them the right values. We need to make use of our EARCOM, that agency. We need to teach our young people that you can start small and grow big. We need to teach our young people that there is dignity in labor. And these are all of the things we believe that we can do for us. The International Conference Center. We have an International Conference Center. I'm just praying that by the grace of God, we'll be able to complete it and put it to use. The Tropicana facility that has been there, half completed, has an international conference center. But by the grace of God, when we come on board, we will fix it and we'll make sure that we can use that facility. I think those are some of the questions that I was able to. The modular refinery. So we'll always partner with investors. We'll look for investors. I'm an entrepreneur. I am always looking for investors. I can speak their language, and I know that we'll have the integrity to respect whatever commitment we make with these investors. As a matter of fact, part of the things we intend to do is to open up our industrial parks and make sure that we make it good for people to come in. But when you come in and I give you land, the beauty of it is that I'll give you land, I will give you light, I'll make the roads, but you come in with a proposal and tell me the number of people you will employ so that I can get those people trained waiting for you. Give me the timeline because we'll work with you with that timeline. And I'll give you a temporary CFO because as Commissioner for Lands, what I saw was that the governor actually wanted just to facilitate businesses. So we started signing CFOs. People who collect CFO, take loan, and then leave Akwa Ibom. So, and they use it elsewhere. So now what we'll do, we'll give you the land, but we tie it to a temporary CFO, and we'll make sure that there is a proper monitoring and evaluation team. That's what we'll do.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think most of the questions have been taken, and maybe we'll just take one or two from here. I take the ones that we have here. One from a male, there's a gentleman there, and then one from a female, because I am very gender friendly. And so there are some questions here on gender-based violence. So before I am accused of being gender biased, I'll have that gentleman speak. I'll have one lady speak right there, and then we'll take some of the questions here as we begin to wind down. Please, yes.
Very good evening. My name is Comrade Dominic Akban. I'm the State Secretary, Nigeria Journal of Journalists, Akwa Ibom State Council. Sir, we've seen your programs, but we are concerned and worried. How are you going to implement them? The funding, sir, you've not talked about that. That's number one. Then number two, sir, the Ghost Community Press in the Akwa Ibom Newspaper Corporation that government spent over 500 million to put in place has not been put to use. Sir, at the last count of it, we've lost over 3 billion naira from the non-implementation and use of that machine, sir. Please, sir, assure us here that when you get there, you will put that machine into use. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you very much.
Let me add that that gentleman works for the organization that wants to use that machine. Thank you very much for your question. The State Secretary of the NUJ. Yes, there's a lady there. Yes, there's a lady there. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. I am Architect Eno Ekwere, the chairman of Nigerian Institute of Architects, Akwa Ibom State chapter. Sir, you have said something about urban drift, and in the same vein, you said people will live in their villages and come to work in Uyo, and I think that is not enough to curb the urban drift. Akwa Ibom State is fast becoming a one-city state where the rural areas are emptied into Uyo. So, sir, my question is, how would you really work to prevent this urban drift? Because having to live in the rural area and come to Uyo won't work.
Thank you,
and also we have, secondly, there's a situation where we have housing in places that are not accessible, and this housing end up not being used. So I suggest that we make our development collaborative so that we have communities, fishing communities, industrial communities, and we develop cities around those communities so that Uyo is not put under pressure and the infrastructure we put in place break down before their shelf lifetime. So this urban drift really has to be looked into, where cities will be put in place outside Uyo.
Thank you very
so
much,
that we don't have a one-city state.
I think the point has been taken. I have very limited time, sir, but let me take this. Dr. Hobi Baga, pediatrician, says, your plans for the health sector are lofty, sir, but there are health centers in the villages. How will you get health professionals to live and work in rural areas? And there's another one here that says, what will your administration do about capital flight from the NBA? That has been taken care of. I think that has been answered. Government's job primarily is to protect the interests of the masses. What will your government do to protect the interests of masses whose rights are trampled upon in the state? Would you sow the path of Lagos State by establishing the office of the public defender? Those questions are from the Nigerian Bar Association. And from the National Association of Private Schools, this will be the last for now. If we have more time, we'll take more. So what will you do to take over the hem? When you take over the hem of affairs of the state, what will you do to empower the over 4,000 unregistered schools in the state with soft loans to uplift the standard of the schools? Or will you close them down? And we'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Now, you know what? Let me begin from that. I believe that we can work with the Ministry of Education. We have the standards. and we can make, because again, we will demand that we maintain our standards. That I will not, so closing down may not, but we'll demand that we maintain our standards. And we'll set the standards, we'll work with you to achieve the standards. Incentive working in rural areas. You see, what I want to say, if you're a doctor here, I'll make the rural areas so very attractive that almost all doctors want to leave Uyo for the rural areas. Because for every cottage hospital, we'll make sure there is light, we'll make sure we'll give you a place, we'll provide adequate security, and we'll pay incentive that will make you stay there. We'll give you an incentive. But, can I also say this? When we give you the money, also know that you have to stay there. Because I will check. That is because, you see, I want results. I want the people in rural areas to have access to good medical facilities. So the doctors have to live there. We'll talk with you. We'll give you an incentive that you will not be able to reject. I have them. I can't tell you now. You know, I have my strategies. You will observe that I've not discussed strategies here because, you know, that's a long thing. And so, but we will make sure you stay. And then the urban drift. Madam, you see, the truth is, we will work with your organization. We're going to provide basic facilities in the rural areas. I'm not saying, please, I'm not saying that there will be a law that makes you come from your village to work. I'm saying that we'll make it attractive and easy. So that if you went home, maybe over the weekend, rather than rush to Uyo, you can decide to pass the night. There are some of us here that can't stay the night in our villages. So we'll make it attractive. We'll make it nice for you. We'll build a good market. We'll build a hospital. We'll do some shopping centers around there. We'll make the, you see, like you said, Akwa Ibom basically is a one-city place. So we'll work with you on that. Just create the basic infrastructure. People will stay there. How are we going to fund all this? Sir, budgets. We are thinking of industrialization. We are thinking of, and if the more people you employ, they will pay their taxes, your internally generated revenue, the SMEs, and then of course the agricultural revolution that is coming in. Money will come, and then I believe that we can. How do I fund my budget to run my business? So you need to think, and that's why you need a governor that will think out of the box and will not always be going to Abuja to wait for money. And I can tell you from my background, in all humility, I am that person that will think out of the box. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we have more questions than we have time. Very soon, our live television time will be running out. But we have a good number of people who are watching online, and there are questions all over the place. Time will fail me to do justice to them, but I think there's one I would love you to answer. There's somebody who put a message on the live stream and is asking about the plans for scholarships for indigent students who are intelligent and do not have access to government scholarships, whether this is something you're going to consider as priority. Gentlemen, I have 16 questions in my hands. I don't have up to even 16 minutes for this program to end. So maybe we'll just have you answer that one. And we'll walk out, and possibly we'll have an office in your campaign office where people can come to for questions.
Right here. We're prepared to engage. The
Yes.
campaign secretary is here. I'm always at work. I'm prepared to engage with groups, with organizations. Let this just be the beginning of this conversation. We have up until March 11th for you to make up your mind. I'm available to engage with you, and I'm engaging across the line. But the issue of students,
Scholarships, sir. Yes.
we will give scholarship. This government have started giving scholarship. Just last week, 500 students picked up their checks. I saw the Honorable Commissioner for Education somewhere in this building, and she can confirm 500 students. The question is, how do you know indigent? I just know that students who have met a certain GPA will be granted scholarship, so long as they are in Nigerian government universities. You are not even an indigent student if you are in a private university. So please, let's get, because I know,
what if you are schooling abroad, sir?
I say Nigerian state or federal government universities, because I know that this tape will be rolled back someday, and so that's why I'm underlining everything I'm saying. If you are in a private university, you don't need scholarship. Then, of course, again, let me also add this, something you did not add. I will pay bursary to students.
Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, time is not our friend, but I think this gentleman deserves a round of applause. I'll allow him go back to his seat. Please put your hands together for Pastor Umo Eno, the PDP governorship candidate, Akwa Ibom State. Thank you very much, sir. I'm sure there will be opportunity for one-on-one engagement, but we still have a few more minutes. Thank you for your candor. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for honoring the invitation to come and engage with these stakeholders. And as he takes his seat, we're going to take the next item on the program, and this is going to be the one that we call the Umo Eno that I know. There are two people who will take about 5 or 6 minutes each, and they will speak about this gentleman. These are two people who have known him long before the call of duty came, long before he ventured into public office, long before he became chairman of Hotels and Tourism's board, long before he became executive director in Archicop, long before he became commissioner, and much longer before he vied for this office of governor. Can we give him another round of applause as he takes his seat? Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me invite to kindly come forward here, take a few minutes and speak to us about the Umo Eno he knows. A gentleman who needs little or no introduction, especially the tech environment in this country. Son of this state, it's a local government area, where I come from also. But many years ago, worked in one of the companies owned by this gentleman. Today, that gentleman who is an entrepreneur works in tech, advertising, and the film industry. He's the founder of Anaco Films and Drovo, and he operates in Lagos, Los Angeles, and Toronto. He flew in to come tell us about the Umo Eno he knows. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Editi Effiong. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up here to speak to us briefly. Editi Effiong, please.
Sorry, so I don't know how to do the protocol thing, but I'm going to stand on whatever protocol exists. I think that's how they say it. I'll stand on existing protocol. And I'll go real quick. Pastor Umo Eno, I met him roughly 22 years ago. It's a really long time. And back then, I was a web designer. I was about 17. I was really skinny, yellow, and and I had founded a small company back then trying to build websites for organizations. I live in Ekere. So I lived there in a small town, and there's not that many companies you could do any business with. So I wrote this very elaborate proposal and sent to a couple of companies, and I leave and forget about this thing for about a month. And then I get a call. Are you a DT? I'm like, yeah. It was him. And so he invites me to meet with him. That he saw my proposal. He thought it was really beautiful. But he doesn't know what I look like. He's never met me, so he doesn't know I'm 17. And so I show up at the office, and his PA expected one big man. Obviously, I'm not one big man. I'm a skinny kid, 17 years old. And does not allow me to yoga because he couldn't believe I was a guy, I was the MD that this man was supposed to meet. And I came first day, second day, third day, didn't meet the big man. Of course, I never give up, so on the fourth day, I come back and sit. And of course, you know how the big man, when a big man is coming out, he's he laughs because he owns the place. He was at Royalty Hotels. I knew he was the big man, not because I'd met him before, because of the laugh. The big man laugh. He looked almost exactly the same way. And then so I walk up to this guy and say, "Hello, sir, my name is Editi Efyong, and you've been wanting to meet with me." And he stops and looks at me. I was about this tall, but really skinny. So I did not at all look like the guy he expected to meet. So he's like, "Oh, you are the guy? Okay, come to my office." And so we sit in his office, and I walk through the presentation I had sent to him. He says, "Okay, it looks like you know how to do this thing. How much?" And we negotiated. "You paid me $250K. I was 17. And that was a long time ago. It was the biggest project I'd done until then. But he trusted me to do that job, supported me, but then this is the thing. Someone is running for office, and because he helped a guy 20 years ago, doesn't qualify him to run for office. But here's the thing. He didn't just see potential in me. He sort of sowed a seed, not sort of, sowed a seed. I bought my laptop from that thing. I set up my first office from that job. I operated around the world. He told me when he saw me, you live in the sky these days. I actually don't live in the sky. I'm working, sir. But the point is, you built the foundation for what I become, and I'm really grateful for that. But once again, it does not qualify a person for office. But here's something that I think is very important. I started this program in my village where... No, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Editi Efyong is a tech entrepreneur, is a filmmaker. He lives in different countries of the world. He lives in the air, like he says. His company has a staff strength of almost 200, a good number of them earning in foreign currency. I have a feeling that maybe if he didn't get that 250,000, he may not have started that company. Please put your hands together one more time for Editi Efyong, who came to tell us about the Umo Eno he knows. I wonder if 17-year-olds get 250,000 naira now, whether they can afford a lap, let alone a top. We're going to now invite to speak also the former boss of this gentleman, and who would know someone better than someone who employed and actually had him work for her for quite a long while. Former executive vice chairman of Norman Holdings, Lagos, Mrs. Comfort Tonkomo, has flown from halfway around the world to be part of this event. Please put your hands together for her as she comes up here to take about 5 minutes to tell us about this gentleman. Thank you very, very much. Mrs. Tonkomo. Of course, in the course of reading his profile, told us that he rose from finance and investment manager to general manager to group general manager of Norman Holdings Group. That is Pastor Umo Eno. Mrs. Tonkomo, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I stand on the existing protocol, just as the former person said. The Pastor Basi Umo Eno I know is large, more than what you people know him. When he came to Norman, we were looking for people to help run the finance sector. He worked in the bank. We got him interviewed, and he came out excellent, and he was the best pick that Norman Investments got, And we groomed him. He was teachable. He was excellent. You send him on a job, he will get it delivered. He was so good that I could go to sleep and know that what I've put in his hand, he will deliver for the company. So he put us on the map so good that people were looking for Norman Holdings to do business with, because we were excellent in what we deliver. Give us a job, we will do it good, and we will make you proud for wanting to work with us. He was all over the place. when he wanted to leave, I didn't want him to leave. He was that good, And I'm so proud that the nurture he went through in Norman Investments, Norman Holding, because in Norman, it started with Norman Investments. We grew to have other arms in the company through his efforts. We had several other companies that we have the building sector, we have the finance sector, we have communication also, we have the tools, So he was handling all this, and I was so proud that he stood firm and supported me in that business, and we excel. People we are looking for. In those days, people want to do business with Norman Holdings, So I thank God for his life. He left there and came to Eket. With the experience he had there, he excelled there. And I know, and I'm very convinced, that God has groomed him through all this process. Just like Joseph that was groomed. And when it was time for him to walk in Egypt, God gave him the wisdom to manage the resources there. God has groomed him all through this process. And this is the time for him to show that he is really in God's hands work. And he will bring Akwa Ibom to a greater height. May God bless him. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tonkomo of Norman Holdings. I would have loved to work for that company. Maybe by now I would have been governor, or I would have been ambassador. You may think that's a joke. There's a serving governor in this state who is a former staff of Norman Holdings Limited. The current governor of Ibom State was once a staff of that company. Nigeria's current ambassador to Canada was once a staff of that company. The vice president, current vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, was once legal advisor of that company. And I think they are about to produce another governor here in Akwa Ibom State. Who would not have loved to work for Norman Holdings Limited? Thank you very much, madam. I think it's a company that groomed leaders for this country. Vote of thanks, please. The international president of Connect Initiative, Dr. Frank Ekpeyon, they put together this event. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up here for his vote of thanks.
Our special guest, the PDP governorship candidate, Pastor Umo Eno, and his dear wife, the party chairman of the PDP, the DG of the campaign, and because of time, I stand on the already established protocol. Today marks a very historic event in our dear state, Akwa Ibom State, where we have once again sent a message to the whole world that our state is leading in changing the narrative towards an issue-based campaign. This drive inspired the Connect Initiative to propose and execute the enriching conversation which has offered a standard-bearer fresh perspective and insight on governance, alongside with interest and aspiration of professional bodies and interest groups. I am indeed very grateful to God Almighty, the giver of life and captain of our destinies, who has made this event a success and has blessed this room with the energy of the young and also the wisdom of the old. The perspective has been great and the resolution refreshing. The caliber of professionals in this room speak to the high standard of our great state and is a testament to the love and respect you all have for our state and your decision to engage in this very robust conversation with the PDP candidate. Pastor Umo Eno is a win for the democratic process and growth of our state. By this engagement, you have extracted commitment from him and you've shared your views into how our state should be run and our resources managed. This has in no small measure impacted the electoral process and will give our candidate the needed vigor and enthusiasm to run to finish the line, to the finish line and implement the resolution of this August gathering. We are sure that the fruits of this gathering will be seen by all and sundry, as Mr. Umo Eno has proven beyond all doubt that his words is born. My thanks are due to you all. First, for the impressive work you do towards deepening the process, ensuring accountability, of your leaders and making suggestions towards the general improvement of the democratic process of our state and nation, and also for your kindness in honoring the invitation. Finally, I would like to appreciate the teamwork, what they've put together to get this event a success. And as the light fades on this first series of our town hall meeting, we wish everyone a safe return back home and urge that we should continue to up the ante and deliver to Akwa Ibomites a befitting successor who will sustain the peace, maintain and improve upon the legacy of His Excellency Deacon Udom Emmanuel. And we remain grateful for the gift of Pastor Marno, who is always ready to engage the citizens and who promises to give Akwa Ibom the governance they deserve. Thank you once again.
The chairman on this occasion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, somebody once told me that MC means most cheated. And that's why that gentleman has come out here and thanked everybody and forgot to thank the MC. Imagine if I had forgotten to call him to come and give the vote of thanks. Please put your hands together for him one more time, ladies and gentlemen. We thank everyone. We took questions from you. We'll pass the questions on to the team that works with Pastor Moino. There's a good number of insights there. We appreciate you for having come. We please remind you that we have only one state, and it is our responsibility, irrespective of what name we answer, where we come from. As long as we live here, we're stakeholders in the Akwa Ibom project, to contribute our quota to ensure that we leave this state better, if not for any other people, for our children that are coming behind us. It is the least that we owe them. This event is going to come to an end with closing prayers, which will be offered for the governorship candidate one more time by Prelate Dr. Sunday Mbang. You'll pray for him, and then, of course, he'll proceed to say the closing prayers, after which we take the national anthem and bring this to an end. The live transmission will end in just about a few minutes. Closing prayers, please. Thank you. Please, you can use my microphone.
Shall we all rise while I'm the only one to sit down? Let us pray. Heavenly Father, what we came to do, you have helped us to achieve it. Thank you, Father. This project, you started it, and I know you'll end it well in Jesus' name. Eternal Father, a few days ago, I canceled all those people who want to make Governor Umo not be himself. All the satanic forces that Satan has sent his messengers to try to derail him, I cancel all of them in Jesus' name. Father, as he goes again to prepare himself to take over from a governor who had performed very well, grant him your enabling grace. Re-anoint him for this job. Fill him with your Holy Spirit. May no evil come his way. And I cover him with the blood of Jesus. Father, all of us who admire him, bless us. And may we continue to pray and work with him so that Akwa Ibom State can become your state, properly so called. Thank you, Father, for this night. You created day and night, and you saw that both were good. This night will be a good night. And all of us will sleep. Your angels and archangels will watch over us. And we will wake up tomorrow strong, and your grace will be upon us. As we worship you tomorrow, Father, may your enabling grace be with us in all that we do. Father, accept these prayers and do more that I would have asked you this day. But above all, bless your son, the governor to be. And I know nobody will challenge him for what you have already given to him. Bless Umo Eno. Everywhere he goes, go with him. May you enjoy your presence day and night. Hear this prayer and do more that I would have asked you. In Jesus Christ's name I pray.
Amen.
And so may the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit rest and abide with all of you now and forevermore.
Amen. Thank you very much. Please, ladies and gentlemen, immediately after the national anthem, we're invited to please sit back and have dinner. There are protocol officers and ushers who will take us to the dinner points table by table. And when we have taken our food and gone to our tables, our special guests and governorship candidates, I know, will want to move around the tables and at least exchange pleasantries with those who came. Thank you very, very much. Have yourself a good night when we leave. We'll together one more time sing the national anthem. Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have yourself a good night. Have yourself a wonderful dinner. Copies of the Arise agenda is also going to be shared to us. God bless you, and God bless Akwa Ibom State. As we have something to eat, we're going to have some entertainment from a young Akwa Ibom daughter who plays this instrument very, very well. She'll come forward and entertain us. Thank you.